Today we're going to be learning about how to make scatter plots. Scatter plots are a great way to represent data. So we're going to be looking at height and weight data from the New England Patriots. So this is their height in inches and their weight in pounds. The first thing we want to do is decide which variable to put on the x-axis, height or weight. We want the x variable to be our independent variable, or the variable that is more likely to be the causal relationship. So is it more likely that changes in height cause changes in weight? Or is it more likely that changes in weight cause changes in height? We know it's more likely that changes in height cause changes in weight, since we have no control over our height whatsoever. So height is going to be our x variable. Therefore, weight will be our y variable. The next thing we need to do is decide what scale or what interval over which we're going to be plotting. So to do this, we need to know the minimum and maximum of each of the data sets. So for height, we can see that the minimum value is 70 and the maximum is 77 inches. For weight, the minimum weight is 180 pounds and the maximum weight is 335 pounds. Now that we know both of these things, we can start plotting. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw our horizontal or our x-axis. Next, we are going to draw our vertical or y-axis. Now, we are going to label each of these. So we said our x-axis was height, and remember, always put units. And our y-axis is weight. Now that we have our axes drawn and labeled, we can start deciding what intervals each of these grid lines is going to be. So for height, we're going from 70 to 77. So each grid line can be an interval of 1, because that makes sense. Whereas for weight, we're going from 180 to 335. So we're going to need each of our grid lines to be a much larger interval, say 10. So when we do this, drawing our height in inches, making our intervals in height in inches, go from 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, and so on. Notice I'm only labeling every other interval just to make it easier. And our weight goes from 180 to 200 to 220, 240. Again, I'm only labeling every other one just to make it easier. So now we have our axes. They have the intervals clearly marked, and the intervals are evenly spaced. Note each interval is a gap of 2 here, or a gap of 20 here. Our axes are labeled with units. Now we can start plotting our data. So we're going to look at this first player, Danny Aiken. His height is 76 inches and 255 pounds. So we're going to go over on the x-axis to 76 inches and then go up to 255 pounds, which is about here. And we have our first data point. Now we're going to do the same for the next player, Ryan Allen. His height is 74 inches, so we go over 74 inches, and his weight is 215 pounds. So we go up, and 215 is going to be right about here. We're going to do this one more time. For Danny Amendola, his height is 71 inches, which is right here. So go over on the x-axis 71 inches, and then go up to 195 pounds, which is about here. So now we start to see that we have a scatter plot, and once you put all the rest of the data, we can see what trends are there.